So I think what the topic today is going to be handling objections. I think is that what it was today? I saw it come across
Yes, that's correct.
in 2024, like with all these new NAR stuff and all this other stuff, and all the agents that don't know what they're doing because they haven't been educated by their companies. How many people are finding that there's a lot of agents that still have their head in the sand, that aren't figuring it out, and their companies haven't figured it out. And I'm actually educating them. I'm like, what are you doing? It's crazy.
I had an agent literally call me and say, I didn't see any CBB on your MLS listing. What's going on with that? I was like, I'm sorry, excuse me. Like that was last week.
Have you been around for the past month?
On a multi-million-dollar property. But it's okay.
You know what? As I've said, I don't use that C word anymore. No, I don't use co-op. It's like saying the word cancer and things like that. No, look at that shirt. Talk about coming in hot. Look at Ross.
Ross is going golfing today.
You're not on mute. You can talk. Ross. He's just looking at us like, you guys are jagging. So, all right. So I know that we're coming into 2000. All right, here's a question. What are the top objections that you're dealing with that the clients are throwing at you? Let's start with Janet. Janet hasn't been on in a while. Johnny, you want to go first? I know you turned the camera off for a second, but you want to go first? What's the biggest objection you're facing right now in the market?
I'm probably not good to go first.
Okay.
I'm actually being a panelist, or not a panelist today. I'm a student today. Let's see what. I don't know. I don't know that I'm getting any one that pops out at me. I think on our end, it's more the agents and their energy and just everyone's tired and more out. It's more on the agent side of things versus the client side of things.
What do you mean? Tell me more about that.
I think everyone's just kind of in this rut. Obviously in Florida, you're looking at all these storms. So everyone there has this mindset of, oh, we have no business. It's, you know what I mean? Like there's that. And then my Indiana team, for example, I just feel like everyone's kind of just doom and gloom. And I just need to, so for me as a leader, it's more getting my agents in activity and action and taking action and skilling up and leveling up and things like that.
Huh. So you think they're actually took vacation? They're actually getting ready for the holiday season early?
Oh yeah. They've been this way for a while.
Really? We got 80 days to the end of the year. You know how much work can get done in 80 days? You can sell a ton of houses in 80 days. You can go broke in 80 days.
You know the problem,
in
Craig?
80 days.
The problem is Costco put out Christmas stuff in September. Halloween stuff came out in August. And so people are like, oh, it's the holidays.
Kind of confusing when Christmas goes out before Thanksgiving, unless you want, or before Halloween, unless you want to be dressed as Santa for Halloween. So, all right. So it's just, so you're mainly your big objection, Janet, is dealing with your agents and their negativity or non-responsive to things. Is that what you're coming through? All right, Brian, what's the biggest objection you're running into right now?
Well, it's funny that Jana said that. I had 2 coffee meetings this week with agents who were stressing out over, the lack of business in their pipeline. And I re-engaged with them, kind of got their headspace back in place and talked about really this is an opportunity market where there's like this sense in Southern California right now that prices could drop. So, I've had a couple very active buyers who are watching and waiting, thinking that things are going to drop. And if interest rates drop further, obviously we know that has an adverse effect on what they're hoping for, because as soon as rates drop again, or if they do again by the end of the year, then everybody's going to come out and start running around and making offers again. And so the biggest objection that I see is that client who wants to sit on the fence. And this is the perfect opportunity to re-engage with all of your active buyers or all of your buckets. I like to call them buckets, right? Your opportunities, your leads, your appointments, and your transactions. So anybody who's in that lead appointment bucket where they're kind of wanting to look at property, but they're not sure if it's right. What I like to do is I like to get the biggest objections, Craig, that we see today, which is, well, I want to do this or I want to do that. And I actually know that those are predictable. So if I were to say to you, hey, Craig, I know right now you're probably thinking like a lot of people who are hoping that the rates are going to drop and prices are going to get a little softer. But do you know that in this market today, those are the best opportunities to go after with a seller who's in a situation where they want to move by the end of the year? So if I handle the objection up front before they can throw it at me, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to disarm them with that objection. So knowing the objection up front, like whatever your objection is in your marketplace, like in Florida, like, gosh, we just went through this devastating time. You could say that. You could use that objection to actually overcome the objection to get them excited about the market. Does that make sense? So if I were to say, man, it is devastating throughout the southern part of Texas or wherever the issue is. But you know that this is one of those opportunities where there's going to be people who aren't going to rebuild. They're probably going to take their insurance money and they're just going to leave the state. And those are going to be the properties that you want to be ready to go after if and when you are ready. So let's work on you being ready. You have to be a ready, willing, and able buyer to get an offer accepted. So let's just move forward with your ability to buy right now. And let's focus on that. Stop looking at property, stop looking at the market, stop looking at the interest rates. Look at your situation and use objections to get them fired up about being, oh my God, because I could say right now, Ross's market out in the desert where it's not 100 anymore, it's starting to get pretty. There's going to be all these Canadians rolling in and all these second home buyers. And when the weather gets pretty and we don't have an earthquake and we don't have devastation, we just have a market, then those are great buyers to use the objections of why would you wait when you could actually pick up a property right now in the marketplace here and go after what's good and show people what's pending and use the pending sales to take away what they missed out. Get the FOMO going in the marketplace again for people who are really serious buyers. And then with those who are not serious, just use the objections that are going on right now to engage and agree with why you believe they should maybe wait because they're not ready. It's not that the market's not, the market is never ready, you guys. I always say that. People go, how's the market? You know what? The market's the market. It's never ready. You have to be ready for the market you're about ready to get into. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about how to get into the market that we're in right now. Because if you're not a 10 buyer, what does the market matter? So I like to use this type, and that's pretty much my go-to all year round. It doesn't matter what market we're in. I really like to use objections. When you hear enough objections, those objections become the ability to use them in the scripts to get them re-engaged with what you know about the market. Well, hey, I understand that rates are up at 7%, but guess what? You're not married to the rate. You're married to the property. Are you buying this for security or for an exit strategy? If you have an exit strategy, then of course you're going to be more focused on what the costs are. But if you're looking for your first home as for security, then what does it matter if the property doubles or triples over the next 10 years and what you have as an interest rate today? That's not going to matter 10 years from now when it's double in price and rates are what they are. So I always like to use the objection, get them re-engaged with really that their objection is just fear, or somebody who doesn't even own property is in their ear. Oh, why would you want to buy a house in this market? Are you taking advice from a butcher who just lost his home, or are you taking advice from somebody who owns 20 properties? Because I'm going to take the advice of somebody who owns 20 properties and see how this market right now could be the absolute best market to buy in. So I'll leave it with that.
That's huge. As they say, call the elephant in the room out. Your biggest fear is usually an unknown. So figure the unknown out and educate to the unknown like that, and all of a sudden, okay, what's your problem? I do agree with you. There's a lot of people out there coaching a lot of people right now, and they're family members. And you said exactly, when was the last time somebody's in your ear? And I actually bring it out. Somebody's in your ear. Who's in your ear? Who's telling you, and who coached and who's coaching you? When was the last time they were involved in a transaction? Call that elephant out. So, Garrett, what's the biggest objection you're dealing with?
I'll take it slightly different, interesting direction. But again, before I do, Brian, I totally agree. I've always felt that October is like one of the best months of the year to buy property. It tends to get slow. I mean, here in San Diego, we know that the first quarter or like the end of quarter one, quarter two is our busiest market and like most demand all year, especially right now if we're looking forward to multiple rate decreases by the Fed and some adjustments in interest rates. We already know that when those rates have changed in the past couple of years, there's been a buying frenzy like the first quarter, second quarter of the year. Why not buy now? So people are being cautious, but I think that right now is the biggest buying opportunity for a lot of people. So thanks for bringing that up, Brian. So I'll tell the quick story. The other day, I went on a listing appointment with the seller of the property. It was his mom's property. He's been involved in it for the entire time, but he lives in London. Real estate's done differently there. They don't really have buyer's agents. So to help you, he basically asked me, when we were trying to explain to him the commission and what to expect, the request from buyers and how that's all changed and paid, it was completely Greek to him. So this was a really new, a new conversation that I've never had before. Previously we've been trying to help sellers and buyers understand just how things have changed and get their heads wrapped around it. He had to wrap his head around the entire concept. And so like the objection was like, well, why do I even need to pay a buyer's agent, or why do they even need that? Because aren't they just going to come to you and sell the property? I mean, personally, and I know a lot of people disagree with me, but I prefer not to double end transactions. I've had a lot of bad experiences in the past, and I'd rather hand that off to a team member or refer that out if it does come up. But so I'm trying to explain to him why it's in their best interest to have their own real estate agents and why the system is the way that it is. And so the objection was, why should I even consider paying a buyer's agent? Which again, we're all talking to our sellers about, but trying to explain that to a gentleman from London who, they don't do real estate that way. The buyers just come straight to the listing agent and or the seller, and there's only one set of commission, and it's 1% for everything. So, by the end of the conversation, he's, in the mindset for our 2.5% commission on the property, and open-minded to what the buyers may be requesting. But I think just the general objection, just a long answer to the question, the objection was, why do I even need to pay the buyer's agent? And the answers to that was basically trying to help him understand how it made his home look a little bit more attractive, how it made it a little easier for buyers, more attainable, because at a $2.5 million price point that we were talking about, that's almost equivalent to, $100,000, let's just say, or a little bit less, maybe it's 60. My math's not good, but that's quite a bit of money for somebody not expecting to have to pay that. But again, he now understands how, if buyers had to pay that out of their pocket plus their 25% or 20% down payment or more and other closing costs, that it may make his home, less desirable, and, the price might suffer for that. So at the end of the conversation, I think we were all on the same page. But that was the biggest, objection that I don't want to say ready for, but haven't had in a really long time.
Yeah, trying to explain to somebody, it's kind of like explaining what a old time pencil sharpener is that has never seen it. Like, what is that? They don't know. So that's an interesting way. That's practicing your dialogue for sure. That's taking it back to the simplicity, because
I think that all the, again, objection handling in my experience is pretty, like, objections seem to be all the same. When you break them down, they might be different words, but realistically, the concept is generally the same between a couple different concepts, right? And a lot of the objection handlers that we've learned through script practicing and whatnot all seem to be relevant. You just have to be able to learn to tweak it in whatever way to be able to deliver it in a way that the client can understand. And so, once you understand the general principles or like the general objections and know how to handle them, it's just a matter of shifting your language to be able to get on the same page or speak the same language as the client.
Yeah. I remember when I first got into the business, a gentleman by the name of Alan Dom said, learn your objections. Every time you hear one, get a 3x5 card and write down 10 different responses to it. 10 different responses. So you have 10 in the filing in your head. You just pull them out, and you don't have to really think about them. and then learn them for different personalities. So then you went from 10 to 40 because you have the DISC personality majority, and there's all the other tests. But so now you have 40 objection responses to the one objection, and that's brilliant. Having that in your toolbox is great.
Well, Craig, on that point too, and I've learned through coaching as well and heard many successful, different agents say, recommend this, but when you're at open houses, meeting different buyers, you're going to come across many objections, right? You go to a listing appointment, you're going to hear many different objections. Why not write those down in a journal or 3x5 card or whatever the case, and go back to the office and practice that? So that way there, if if it's something you couldn't answer, you need to practice it, but then after a while you are able to, just pull them out of your brain category or catalog, I guess it's called, and handle that. So maybe a recommendation for those listening today, an action item.
There you go. Write it down, everybody. That's a key. Write your objections down and then write at least 5 to 10 responses and then learn them in different personality traits, the DISC. All right, Ross, let's go down to the cooling off of the desert. Killer shirt, dude. You either bought it that way or you threw it in the washer and it got messed up. That's something I would do. I'm not allowed to touch the wash.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to touch it either. I actually just swept through it because I stepped outside for a second. Nah, it's still triple digits here. So I'm chilling in the AC that's for sure. But good to see you guys. Hey, everybody. When it comes to objections, you got to kind of understand what the heart of an objection is. And for me, it's a fear that the buyer has, right? So it's not something that they're just making up. It's a real concern. It's something that they're nervous about. It's a fear of the current state that they're in and the current state of the market and probably the property that they're looking at. So it is their current state. How do we get someone from their current state to a new state? And the answer to that is not simple like meeting objections. It's understanding the whole picture of what we're looking at and then understanding exactly what it is they're looking for. And we can do that through our communications. Meeting an objection isn't like, oh, well, the carpet's green. Well, you can change the carpet, that's fine. Like those are objections. Those things happen. We can be ready for those. But when we're talking about in today's market, when we have people that are just surrounded by what they would say is uncertainty, how do we meet them where they're at and give them confidence? And so when it comes to real estate, there's so many things we can do, but what I'm encouraging people right now is if you're in the market to buy something right now, you're a genius. You are going against the grain. You're entering into a market that mainstream media is telling you is a scary place where we have high interest rates, where we're entering into an election year, when we're having so much uncertainty. So meeting somebody there is kind of like, okay, so if you got to find the heart of it, because 4 years ago when we had an election, we had a very similar time, at least in my market, where everyone was like, I just want to wait till the election's over and then I can jump into the market. And the case study that I pulled from that is it didn't matter who won. 50% of the people who entered the market didn't like who won the election. But guess what? They still did commerce. So so the question I ask is, what are you looking to gain by putting that election in your rearview mirror? What are you looking to gain by putting another rate drop of another 1/4 or 0.5% in your rearview mirror? What are you looking to gain there? And they're just like, well, I don't know. Like, well, you're in the same place as 90% of our buyer pool right now. What do you think that, going against the grain and jumping into the market looks like? Well, it's just so scary. What if I told you that I just had a buyer last month that went in, negotiated $100,000 under the list price, got a rate buy down, and the seller paid all commissions? Like, do you think you can do that when the 90% of the people think it's okay to jump into the market? What about the competition you're going to be dealing with? You remember COVID? You remember what it was like buying a property then? Bringing up case studies of actual things that have happened in the past to meet their fears of the current state has been super helpful for me and my team, because it's not just saying, well, it's a great time to buy. You're bringing up actual case studies that happened not that long ago within the last market cycle. And then you're able to kind of tailor your pitch to what happens if rates do drop? What happens if what you're looking to happen does happen indeed? Then it's tricky because you can paint a picture, the competition goes up, your buyability continues to go down. Why not secure your future right now? So meeting people's fears with in their objection handling is far more powerful than just kind of strategizing a pitch around it, in my opinion. It's the objections today in this market are far greater than, well, it backs up to a road. No, it's a true national market landscape that people are nervous, afraid, scared of. And we need to be prepared to speak to that and meet it and give them confidence. Like, you're a genius for looking at this house right now. Like, nobody else is in the market. You are going to get the best price on this, because if this is a seller in the market today, they're looking a deal and you're going to get to take advantage of that. So that's kind of what we're working on. We're slow. We're a second home market. Transactions are way down, but this month, which is typically our slowest month of the year after summer because nobody really transacts in the summer, it's looking to be our best month of the year. So all we can do is just continue down that path, really use the new tools that we have, getting people in that buyer representation agreement. And when we can speak to bigger market items, people are more inclined to work with us because we're looking big picture, not just trying to sell them a house. What's really been effective for me on my listing appointments lately is like, hey, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here for you on your timing. Do I think right now is a great time to sell? Yes. And I think you can sell it for this price because of the way that I'm going to position it, and here's how I'm doing it. But if you don't want to do it right now, then I'm here for you when you are. And the biggest compliment I got my last listening appointment on Monday was, you know what? I love how you're not pushy. I love how you're not pushing me to sell on your time. This is my decision. I want it to be on my time. And I got it signed. And they actually wrote in a clause that said, if we decide to pull from market this time, we must list with you the next time we put it on. So I'm protecting myself from the seasonality and protecting myself from any market mishaps. And if we aren't able to get the price for my sellers, guess what? They're going to list with me again. And again, I don't buy listings. I price homes to sell, but I do realize it's a challenging market. And this is how positioning myself that way has helped me secure listings for now and in the future, so I don't burn my investment into their, my time and money into their property. So I could go on and on. I love this subject of objections, and I tried to go super high level, but when you're in the moment, like, just read your client, understand what they're looking for, and really get to know them so you can speak to them, and just, they want peace from you. They don't need you to sell them a house. They just want peace. They've already sold themselves if they're in the market. They just want peace. They want steady Eddie. They need confidence. And that's a big part that's missing right now because, it's a challenging market. We don't want to be the agent that's like, I got to pay my bills this month, so buy this house. That just can exude from you if you're pushy. So, we're always on our client's time, not on our time. And we need to understand that and really convey that. And that'll just not only bring loyalty, but referrals and a long-lasting business.
That's huge. And one of the things you had said there is on their time frame. This industry this business is not about you. And the second you realize that it's not about you and it's about the people that you're working with and helping, more people will come to you. It's the law of attraction. It happens because, like, exactly, you don't have commission breath, as Pete has said before. Function that you've got that $100,000 in the bank. You might not, but function that you do, and you're going to work different. You're going to work calmer. You're going to answer slower. You're going to communicate. It was like when Deb DeGroat was on. She goes, and your tonality, and everybody's tonality as we work through things, they go up and down. Your tonality right there was a matter of fact, and your confidence was there. And what you said. So that isn't made up, boss. It was neat to see it come from you. So go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I want to comment on that. So what Ross was doing is when I'm training agents, I like to encourage my agents to do exactly that. And how I present it to them is that what you want to be able to do is you want to attach yourself to the outcome of the customer, because your outcome is going to be always different than what they're really trying to convey to you. And so if the outcome in this client was, we're considering putting our home on the market in January, Ross would have done that listing presentation in a posture of buying into, okay, let's prepare for January, versus just going out and listening to them and not knowing, and then hearing what it is they're trying to do, and then attaching themselves to that outcome. It's no different than you want to do with a buyer, right? So when you attach yourself to the outcome of the client, you're around for 40 years. That's Gary and I and Craig, and I know most of us have been around for a long time. It's because we've learned to chameleon ourselves to be able to attach to the outcome of the client. So we're on their team and we're playing on their team. When they make their decision, they know we're on their team. Versus, well, are you sure you want to pass this up right now? I mean, things are great. Are you sure? Are you sure? That doesn't align, right? Tony Robbins used to say, kill the monster before it kills you. And a lot of times the monster in the room or in the transaction is what Ross was speaking on, is the importance of a check for my bills. When you have to take that posture, you sound desperate, you look desperate, and you're not attached, you're fighting for a deal rather than posturing yourself to create a deal with them. So that was really huge, Ross. Thanks for articulating that out.
Janet, do you want to add anything? I know we started with you. I wanted to go back to.
I'm good.
You good? Brian, you want to say something?
No, I was trying to turn off my.
It was off. There you go. I was like, oh, what did I do? I jumped on him.
Yeah.
So maybe we could use this as a helper. There's probably some other people on the call that are having challenges with their team or themselves with their own objections to themselves, which is the market and how it might be. I know, Victoria put into the chat earlier, she's ready to jump back into Tampa and go back into it. Some people are going to buy and sell regardless of it. Exactly. But let's have the conversation that Jana was mentioning, that her team's a little flat, that their heads aren't in it. Who wants to jump in and maybe give her some advice, some ideas that could come out? Because if it's not just one person, there's somebody else on here that's going to help.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for my team, we're now, we have 50 people on the lead platform and grabbing another 20. So we're looking to be 70 strong on our Zillow Flex team here. And how do we keep morale high with a large group? And we're trying to grow, right? I'm trying to hit 200 by June of next year. So how are we going to keep culture? How are we going to keep morale high? And that's by giving everyone a voice for me. So when we have our meeting, like I take time before we hop into the meat and potatoes of the meeting, for everyone that's on our Zoom call, that's on camera. I want to hear your goal and highlight for the week. So what's your goal for this week? What's your highlight? I want to hear that. And then through that, they also bring out like what's been going on that's tough for them. And then we have 70 people behind them to say, you know what, you got this. You can do it. We're all coming together. We're all doing the same thing. We're all trying to sell real estate. We're all trying to treat people great. We're all trying to be like an important piece of our communities. And when we can meet each other on just a super simple level like that, it's amazing how far that goes. When I'm able to share what's going through my mind to my team that week and hear support, hear people praising when we're sharing our highlights, like that's powerful and that's encouraging. It's invigorating. Our meeting, like I left my team meeting yesterday, like on a high, because we had such good participation. We had so many people banding together to do one thing, and that's to give excellent service and sell real estate. Like that's fun. And for me, when we're able to embed that culture and spread that and get that infectious atmosphere going, that's when people don't get burnt out. No matter if you have 10 homes in escrow or 0 homes in escrow, you're now thinking, I can do that because he's doing it. We're all doing the same thing. And by the way, who can I call to get help? And it's not just me now that it's calling to help people. We have people throughout the team who are having a lot of success now, who are pouring into the new people, pouring into the people who are struggling. And it's a trickle down. And then the people who are down here having a tough time, they get lifted up and they start doing stuff. And the next wave they pour into because they knew how important it was. but that cycle of encouragement, that culture of support and training and love is huge. So for me, and I do one-on-ones with agents too. Like we go over their campaigns, we go over how they can be more successful, we go over metrics. And it's never like, hey, you're really bad here. Like, come on, what's going on? Tell me why. It's, hey, how can I meet you where you're at and elevate your performance there? Because this is an important part, and this will lead to more transactions. This will lead to more people wanting to work with you. So it's getting granular, but lifting it up and lifting the person up so that it's not like a dig or like I'm disappointed or, public shaming. It's all about just being positive. And that's a culture that, in my opinion, most people can't buy. It's a special thing. And if we can start that from the inside out as team leaders, and even as like integral members of teams or new team members, if you can have that attitude, your team will just catch on and it's infectious. And if they don't want to, then that's a dead culture, and you probably need to find a new place for you to grow and flourish as an agent. So that would be my advice when it comes to culture and lifting people up. And I know, like in Florida, like I'm praying for all of you there, everyone who's not on the call today, that's a Florida top producer, like praying for you. I can't imagine. I don't have to deal with any of that stuff. I don't have to, ring out my house after 100-degree day. So praying for you guys. I hope you're all safe. And for those of you who are really questioning your market or the future, the security of your business, praying for you, but hold tight. This is not the first storm. You guys will get through it. And I'm really excited to see how you guys show your resiliency and to your clients and to your market.
Cool. Did that help a little? Did that help a little bit, Jenna?
Yes. Ross, go back to the two questions that you on your huddles every week that you ask them, and every single team member reports in to this.
That's on camera, and then I open it up to the people that are off camera. Yeah.
So that takes a while if you have that many people. Every single person.
I give like 35 minutes to it. Yeah.
Okay, good. And what were the two questions that you ask them? They have to answer?
Goal highlight. So if we're on the meeting, I'd be like, hey, Brian, you're my top left right now. Hey, goal highlight for the week. And then Brian would tell me his goal highlight. I'd be, man, that's so awesome. And everybody gives the clap emoji or whatever, or people chime in. It's an open conversation. It's not just like I directed. So Brian might say, man, I got this call the other day and it was so weird and this happened. And somebody like, I got the same thing. And like, here's what I did. And it just all of a sudden we're ping ponging all across our Zoom screen. And it's just really productive. And some people would think it's not what time well spent, but I'd rather do that for the whole meeting than tell them about what's going on with their metrics, because I can do that at a different time. I'd rather build that culture in our hour time rather than talk about anything else, because that is what's most important to me. And me as a leader, if I see a hole in metrics or somebody needing to grow in an area, I can just go to them individually. And then again, that's time better spent, because then it's me building into them and them feeling appreciated and seen. So goal highlights goes a long way for us.
Good deal. Thank you.
So the first question is highlight for the week, and the second question is?
Give me your goal for the week, and then give me your highlight from the last week.
That's an open mic mastermind. And I'll tell you what, those have been absolutely the best meeting conversations that I can look back on. Because when you start a conversation with that and it leads to a mastermind like we're doing right now, it benefits so many people that are just sitting there listening in who are less vocal on your team, the ones that are a little shy to jump in, but they heard a nugget and then they adopt the nugget and then they use the nugget. And next thing you know, somebody who was just kind of getting by is now crushing it. And then you go back and you ask them, what are you doing different? Oh, well, remember in that meeting when you guys talked about that one script, I started to apply that to mine, and man, I've just been crushing it ever since. So that's huge, Ross. And especially when you have the off-camera people, they're busy, they're in the background, but they're still listening. And sometimes one little conversation when their camera's off, they can hear one little nugget, and again, they become a superstar, or it takes them to the next level. And then you ask them to eventually, when you get to where they are, hey, how'd you get here all of a sudden? Oh, And then they all of a sudden throw out something. And next thing you know, it turns into another mastermind.
Yeah, the best is when that off-camera person becomes an on-camera person.
That's right.
Like that's a cool deal for me. And then it's just infectious, when I have staple people that always like to contribute, and I love it when my team members all of a sudden are posing questions and leading that mastermind. Like you said, it's open mic. I'd way rather have a roundtable discussion or a mastermind than me droning about how you need to get more loans to this person. You know what I mean? Like that's something where somebody just camera off, sound off, and they're probably not even in front of their computer anymore. So it's a great way to invigorate any kind of team, because everyone feels ownership and a part of it. And that's exactly what they have. It's not a facade. It's a fact that people can claim they have ownership and that they're a huge part of what we're doing.
I find that I've had a conversation with a couple people that are in my organization that are having a rough time, and the biggest thing I've asked them, I said, "What role are you playing?" And they stop and think, and I don't know where it came from when I said it, but they said, "Well, I'm just busy doing different things." I said, "Then try to departmentalize what you're doing and play the role in which you are. You can't play Cinderella and Goofy at the same time. You end up being a goofy Cinderella, in Disney World. So you got to figure out what role you are, what are the traits that role does, and what is the time that you want to spend doing that role when you're doing it. And that role comes with how you act, your positiveness, this. And then when you're out of it, go be miserable or do whatever you want in a different role. But as you're doing that role in your business, it exudes it, it comes out of you, so.
I do want to say this is interesting, Craig, because if you're a team lead that's in super high production and you're too busy for your team members, think about what your retainment of your team members is going to be. If you're too busy for them, they're trying to emulate you. They joined your team because they want to be you. So they're going to be too busy for you in the very near future and leave your team and become an individual agent, because that's what you showed them is success. It's someone who's a lone wolf and who doesn't have time to build into their agents. If you want to be a successful team lead and grow an organization and have positivity, you cannot be too busy for your agents. And yes, you can have people in place that can be a buffer for you and help answer questions that aren't going to be there. But if you can't have a conversation like we're having right now with a team member on your team, you've lost your culture, in my opinion. And that's when you're going to have a level of constant turnover below like your third level of main people. It's always going to be a revolving door because they came to your team for you and they can't have you. So always be cognizant of how you want to grow and how you want to run your business, because your team members are going to show you who you are by the way they act. So for me, I've taken a big step back from production and really stepped into the I want to be there for my team members and help them produce, because that's what I would love. Like when I go to work, it's not work. It's I get to hang out with people that I really care about and like, and we get to have a great experience together. So position yourself for who you want to work with you. If you're a high producer and you want 3 or 4, top dogs that you can pour into, but still be a super high producer, do that. But if you're wanting to grow a big organization and you can't be there for them and you're questioning why it's not taking flight because you're having so much success, you got to look in the mirror and understand it's because they're not getting what they came after. So that was a great thing to say, Craig. So that just sparked a thought.
Cool. Anybody want to add something to that? Anybody? Because I know I want to go to David then for the objection thing that we started with and went on. David, real quick, one of the conversations that we started with, and then we went on to how we're dealing with objections within the people within our group and our team and energy in this challenging market. Some markets are challenged, some aren't. But what's the number one objection you're getting from clients right now that you're facing?
Well, I'm in Park City, Utah, and also Salt Lake. And and I'm a little bit like Ross. I'm backing away from production to help build my agents and my teams. So one big objection that the agents are getting is we have to get a document signed, and we have, what we're doing is if it's like a Zillow lead, we're getting a touring guide signed, and if it's a client, we're getting buyer agency. And so we've built a script and we built all that. But it really comes down to being able to explain what is important about having a buyer's agent. The other thing is, we're getting really good. I went on a listing appointment with my director of operations yesterday, Mike, and we talked to the client. He's going to list with us, and we got him to offer 3%. And we did it by just talking a little bit about the benefits of having, do you want me to, whisper that we're selling, or do you want me to stand on the rooftop at City Hall and scream out that we have your property? How much exposure do you want to have? And I'm sorry, we had our team meeting is right before this, so I was late, but we were talking about some of the stuff we do, and I just wanted to go back to what Ross does. So we do two things on our calls as well in our EOS meetings. So we say, what is one personal thing and one business thing in the last week, right? And so our questions are slightly different, Ross, but I can tell you that it really does build culture. And he already said it so well, but we've been doing that for a long time. And we hire and we fire based on culture. And then the other thing, and I don't know what's said here, but what I prepared for this is we were going to be talking about objection handlers. And I just want to share with you something in the negotiating class that I'm giving away. So if you all didn't get that, email me or whatever, I'll give it to you. But objection handling is critically important because we have so many more objections than we have. It used to be, getting a buyer to write an offer or getting a seller to list, but we have to negotiate with the agent on the other side to get our commission. And by the way, the NAR gave us a raise. So we all should be thanking the NAR because, we had an agent, they wrote an offer on a property and they were only offering 1% on one and 2% on the other. But when we write the offer, we just say, we think we're worth, 3% or 3 bananas, right? And then we can negotiate the commission that we really truly believe we earn. But I wanted to just have you just one thing that will help you in any objection. I don't care what it is. So Craig, give me an objection. I don't care, any objection. Like, okay, you're on a listing appointment and give me an objection.
The holidays are coming, and I'm not sure I should get in the market now.
Oh, okay, so, Craig, I'm so glad you brought that up. So what you're thinking is the holidays are coming and you don't know if this is a good time to sell. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I wouldn't wanna.
there's a lot of people that are thinking about that, but let me tell you this. In the holidays, there's a lot of things that happen that don't happen during the rest of the year. For one, if people are really busy during the holidays, just like you, do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. And the other
Yeah.
thing is during the holidays, we don't have people looking at homes just because they're kind of sort of maybe thinking of buying. These are the most serious buyers. And these are the people that have to buy. And so we might be able to get you more money now than less money in the spring, which would be better for you.
More money. More
More
money. But
money?
are you sure they're going to come out?
Absolutely. Now, we may have a few less showings, but we don't need, last time I checked, we can only sell your house one time. And the buyers that are looking during the holidays are they are highly motivated because they're going to Christmas parties and Halloween party and Thanksgiving or whatever. They're busy and they're getting ready for their kids' Christmas, whatever it is. They're super busy, and if they're looking at your home, and the other thing is, you know what the very best part is? We generally see that there's less inventory on the market, which might give me the opportunity to get you more money. You know, as a business and economics major in college, I know supply and demand. And if there's less homes for the market, I think I might be able to get you more money. So if that makes sense, let's go ahead, sign the contract so I can help you get what you want, get you down to Florida, because I know the snow's coming in, you know, in Philly, and we're going to take care of you. How's that sound?
There you go. All right. Again,
So what you do, first of all, I want you to think, everybody on this, I want you to go, will you cut your commissions? I want everybody to go, yes. Right? But it's not yes that I'm going to cut the commission. Ross, I'm so glad you brought that up. That'll be one of the first things that we talk about when I meet you today at 4 o'clock, right? In other words, when we get an objection, I want you to go, oh, so the first thing you do is pause so you can think. The second thing is you say something very encouraging. Ross, I'm so glad you brought that up. And, you know, that's a question that so many people are bringing up right now. And then you might say, well, okay, yeah, I'll meet you at 4, but how much do you charge? Well, you know what? When I meet you today, we're going to go over that. In fact, I have 3 different options that you can choose from, and you get to pick the commission. You can go Premier, Premier Plus, or Elite, and you're going to be the one that gets to choose the commission that we charge. How's that sound? See, and then you're just talking about, or you're just now getting in front of you, and then you get in front of them and you talk about commission, but you talk about the commission after you show. I mean, everybody that's on this call is generally a really good agent. They already know how to do listing presentations and get it right. So the key is this: on every objection, you pause. The second thing you do is you repeat it back and smile. By the way, when you smile, it reduces the tension. And when you pause, it gives you a little bit of a minute to think about what you're going to say. And then you address the objection. And then you close, or you ask a clarifying question. And if you learn the system, then all the objections are going to happen. How many objections are there that buyers give you right now? There's about 5 or 6. They're the same. So you need to know how to answer each one. How many on sellers? The sellers, they're about 8 or 10. So you need to know how to answer them. So anyway, that's what I prepared, and I didn't hear what everybody else did, but I just want to share that when you get good at this, your business just explodes. Thank you.
one of the things Ross was, God, I'm going to go to you in a sec, Gary.
Yep.
Ross, again, you took it to an upper level. This went to defined level. So I mean, this just shows that there's multiple ways of dealing with objections. You just got to come out with the best way that you're comfortable with and dealing. Gary, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I just want to add, Dave, thanks for sharing that. And I just wanted to point out, like, the framework is almost more important than, I'm not saying more important than what you say, but the framework is nearly as, if not more important than what exactly you're saying, because the framework is designed to help kind of get the client off of the aggressive, and put you in the form of, the educator, or that they know that you're listening to them. So this, Dave, would we call this like NLP?
Yes.
In a sense, right? But I mean, these are all designed in a way to help influence conversation and increase their, the clients, I don't know, wanting to listen to you and respect you. And so I wanted everybody really, Dave kind of laid it out, but there's a lot to that framework. And I want people to really pay attention to that and how they're going through it. That's what we need to practice in as much as we're practicing the actual what to say, how to respond to those objections.
Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, I'm going to give you guys a game. Right, this is a fun game to do with your team and with your role play partners. I did this a long time ago, and I still do it to this day. Is one of the things you want to be able to be very good at when you're role playing and practicing is listen, like Dave said, give them back the objection. Right, in this case, it was Craig asking, well, I'm not sure the holidays are coming up, and he did. He confirmed exactly right what was going on. So here's the game. Practice responses that do not allow the client to say yes or no to.
Yeah.
You always have to give them an open-ended response that allows them to articulate either about what they heard or to move on to make a decision, because at the end of the day, that's what objection handling is really about. It's about helping them understand that the objection that is they're using to get away from you is the very thing that they need you for. Right. So if they ask that question about commissions, I've stopped with my other one, and I've learned that most realtors think in percentages, 0.5%, full percent. Man, that's giving away tens of thousands of dollars. As the managing broker, I used to go to the agents, and they'd always get that question. Man, Brian, they asked me if I'd cut my commission. I'd go, what'd you say? And they'd always say, oh, well, and they think in percentages. I say, well, why don't you just respond by saying, geez, I haven't had that question in a long time. What were you thinking? And get quiet. Because when you start to ask, well, what were you thinking? You're going to hear a different answer than a percentage. You're going to hear something like this. Well, our last agent, when we bought the house, they paid for our home protection plan. And, we were just thinking that maybe a credit towards that would be, just something that maybe you'd be willing to do. Okay, that I just didn't give up 0.5% of $500,000. I just gave up a credit for a home protection plan. You see the difference? So when you get really skilled at hearing the objection and you hear it, don't answer it with them to be able to say yes or no to. Go deeper in it. And that's what Dave was really doing. But this game is, it was taught to me called chicken or beef. Okay, so if you go into a restaurant and you look at a menu and the menu has either chicken or beef, and you wanted seafood, do you walk out without seeing seafood, or do you have to make a choice first about the chicken or the beef before you get out and walk? Like, I wasn't really craving chicken or beef today. But when somebody comes up and gives you that, hey, what would you like today? Would you like chicken or beef? You're wired. We're all wired the same way. We have the same engineer. We're wired to make decisions. We don't say yes or no until we've considered the decision, right? No, I'm sorry. I thought you may have had seafood today. I'm in the mood. I'm just going to get, and you leave. That's great. You made a decision to leave. But did you think about chicken or beef first? Right. So this is what happens. We're wired. So if I gave Craig the same thing, Craig, what were you thinking about the holidays? What was holding you back on the holidays?
Go right, ask.
Right. So what you're going to do is you're going to put them on the spot for a second. They're going to make a decision about, well, we just didn't want to be disrupted because we're putting up our Christmas gifts and we got a lot of stuff going around. So you're worried about people stealing stuff or what else would be bothering you, right? And so if you start to play this game, you're going to get really good at never giving them a response. It's like dating. You don't want the person to say no to you would like to go to dinner with me? No. That's easy to say no to. Hey, if we were to go out to dinner, what would you prefer? Would you like to just meet for coffee in the afternoon, or would you really like to go on a date for dinner? What would be better for you? You at least give somebody a choice. And they think about the choice first before they let you down.
Yes. And again, going into some of these objections, some people just ask, like I just said, because I asked. That's a key spot. Some people ask just because they think they have to ask.
That's
Sometimes
right.
we're throwing these just because they don't know anything better. They don't know what to do. They're sitting, they don't like silence, and they don't know how to have the conversation. So they've got to throw that up. So
in an open house, how many of you have been asked, how old is the roof? Right? I mean, why are they asking that question? I'd say, well, have you had a bad experience with a roof before? Yeah, my dad said, don't buy a house that has a bad roof. Okay, well, great. Let me check with the owner. It looks pretty new, but let me find out for you. What else would be important for you to know about this house today? Right. So I'm going to hear the objection, and I'm going to find out why they asked.
cool.
Really, that's the key.
That's some key
The
stuff
other
there.
thing that's super important, gang, is when somebody brings up an objection, what is it? I'm so glad. I smile. I'm so glad you brought that up. Because in my mind, I'm so glad they brought it up. You know why? Because all I have to do is handle that objection and handle the next objection, and they're going to sign the contract with me. So sometimes people go, oh no, they want to cut the commission, or oh no, they have a friend in the business, or oh no, they whatever, right? And you're like, no, if you have the attitude that you're getting one step closer to getting a signed contract, and you say, and you smile and don't say, oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, right? No. Craig, I'm so glad you brought that up. So your mind is like, I'm glad they brought it up. And then I'm going to handle the objection. And, and then we have this term, Craig's got 4 flat tires. He ain't going nowhere, right? He's going to list with me. He's going to list now. He's going to be out of his house, and he's not going to have to worry about Christmas presents being stolen, because he's already going to find the new house down in Miami or wherever he's going, right?
Yeah.
And when and I love reduce it to the ridiculous, because how did I use reduce it to the ridiculous? So Craig, would you rather sell sooner for more money or wait to the spring and get less? Which would be better for you? Oh,
Right.
I'd much rather get less money later. No, he's never going to say that, right? So this is where we study sales. And I tell people this, you can talk to more people, or you can get better at talking to people.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Love
All right,
want
we're
to
down to
sell
1 minute.
But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
We're down. No, it's all good. We're down to 1 minute. I'm
Same,
saying a
Craig.
blessing for everybody that made it through the hurricane, and for the ones that still need to get through things, North Carolina, Georgia, and all that stuff. So in a closing, Brian brought something up. So if you go to a restaurant that has chicken and beef and you want something different, Gary, would you leave or would you stay?
Oh, I'm the king of ordering what's not on the menu. Like, I kind of want this. You think you could figure this thing out? Most of the times they can. I can't say I've ever left, but most times I'm able to get what I had in mind.
Okay, but if you could, would you leave or would you stay? I like your answer, but
Well, I'd probably stay, because I'm knowing myself, I'm going to be hungry and I can't wait to get
Yeah.
to the next restaurant. So I'm probably just going to suck it up. That's me.
all right, Ross, stay or go.
I'm staying, man. I've already made that choice, and I'm just gonna roll with it.
You're gonna even if it's not what you want, you're gonna get with it. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Brian.
I'll be like Gary and be like, "Hey, can you make me a chicken and beef sushi roll?"
Brian, would you stay or leave?
Yeah, I'd stay, and I would do the same thing, Gary. I would I would actually tell them what I'm craving and see if they could come after it for me.
Yeah.
David, stay or
I'm
leave?
staying, baby.
Yeah.
Am I the only guy that's like, I gotta go? Because if I want some, I mean, I'm just saying, just think of it. Did it ever drive you crazy? You ate dinner, you're like, yeah, that didn't do it.
Yeah.
You know? So
That's
I'm
why
like,
you go
I'm
get
gonna
ice
have
cream
that.
afterwards.
Yeah,
Just go
I
get ice
wouldn't
cream
go.
afterwards.
That's right.
I wouldn't go into a restaurant. If I want sushi, I'm going to a sushi restaurant. If I want this, I'm going to go to where I want to get what I want.
right.
So I
Well,
guess that's the
Added a
real
little bit of
answer.
fun. Hey, everybody, think about it. Would you get up and stay, or would you get up and leave, or would you stay? So, hey, great time today. We're running over. Awesome. Go sell some stuff. Find your highlight. Find your goal. Find your objections. Raise them up. Do them from 30,000 feet. Make them to the specific, as David has talked about. Help lead people up, like Gary was talking about with people. And Brian, beat
Yeah.
the cheese, buddy.
Randy
Super
Zimnock. Randy just texted me. His house and neighborhood didn't lose power. His house is safe where he's at in Tampa. He bailed out of Tampa, though. He's in upstate New York, I believe, or upstate Pennsylvania. So he got his girls and wife out of Florida. But yeah, prayers for everybody in Florida.
God bless
Cool.
you guys.
All right, everybody. See you next week.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Blessings for sure. Bye.